The fading sun outside the window painted long golden shadows on the walls of the hospital room, but even its warm light couldn't soften the cold sterility of the place. The first thing Cross saw when he opened his eyes was Police Chief Harris's double chin. He was smiling and patting Cross on the shoulder. His chest hurt badly. Dr. Morse stood nearby, and by the door, sitting modestly on a chair, was Evelyn Lambert. Warmth immediately spread through Cross's heart. "You were born lucky. All the bullets hit your vest. I was the one who made you wear it yesterday. You owe me." Harris laughed. "You can rest for a day, but tomorrow, find me that scumbag." Harris and the doctor left, and long-awaited silence settled in. Miss Lambert approached Cross. "Good afternoon, Captain. I was at the station when I heard you'd been shot. Mr. Harris was kind enough to let me ride along. How are you feeling?" "Great, thanks to your presence," Cross smiled. Miss Lambert's presence was clearly doing wonders for his health. The next day, despite Dr. Morse's protests, Cross went to Silver Pines to visit the aunt of the late Miss Chesser. The narrow road wound between hills dotted with tall pines, whose tops seemed to touch the sky. Mrs. Buckley said that Frederick Larson was a distant relative of Eleanor. He was constantly plagued by gambling debts and would occasionally ask Miss Chesser for money. But she stopped giving him money when she realized it would never end. Aunt Buckley gave Larson's address, and William headed back to Sunflower Creek. Larson's house on the outskirts of town looked neglected. The paint was peeling, and old newspapers were scattered on the porch. Larson himself wasn't home, but his neighbor, the friendly Lawrence Lewis, was more than happy to share that Frederick had spent the entire evening playing at the Baccarat Club. Lewis even showed a photograph where he was standing with his arm around Larson. On his way back to the car, William noticed a pair of gloves under the stairs. He bent down, picked them up, and examined the brownish stains. Wine or something else. The gloves went into a bag. After finishing his conversation with Lewis, Cross headed to the Baccarat Club. A slick-hand clerk, reeking of stale tobacco mixed with a faint scent of cheap whiskey, confirmed Larson's alibi. The picture still didn't add up. The gloves didn't fit into the puzzle. That evening, while pondering the case, Cross dialed Miss Evelyn Lambert's number. He invited Evelyn to dinner. The evening light softly reflected in the tall mirrors lining the restaurant walls, making the patterned wallpaper appear even deeper and richer. She arrived in a champagne-colored dress, and her smile shone brighter than the candlelight on the table. During dinner, William told her about Larson, and Evelyn shared her memories. "You know, once I heard Eleanor arguing with someone on the phone," she began, slowly twirling her glass. "The man was very persistent. I think he was demanding money." Ellen's words matched Mrs. Buckley's story. William nodded, feeling as if another piece of his puzzle had fallen into place. Evelyn was not only beautiful but also intelligent. After dinner, they strolled along the alley, where maple leaves rustled underfoot and the air was filled with the freshness of the departing summer. Evelyn laughed, recalling amusing stories from the past, and Cross realized that in her company, he forgot all about his investigations. Unnoticed, their conversation drifted back to the tragedy of Eleanor Chesser. William shared his doubts with Evelyn about it being an accident. "But is there any real evidence that it was murder aside from an empty wine bottle?" Evelyn asked. Cross suddenly lit up and grabbed her hand. "Evelyn, you're brilliant. There's something I need to check. Let's go to Eleanor's house." The warm night air, heavy with the scent of jasmine and roses, hung motionless over the wide porch of the mansion, where an eerie silence now reigned. Ross broke the police seal on the door and rushed upstairs to the kitchen. "Go to the balcony," he called to Evelyn, who watched him with unconcealed concern. As he walked through the dimly lit dining room, Cross noticed a piece of cardboard lying on the expensive rug. It was a business card from an insurance company. Large letters on it read, "Frederick Larson, insurance agent," followed by a phone number. "Strange this definitely wasn't here yesterday, or did we just overlook it?" Cross muttered, slipping the card into his pocket. He grabbed the glass and headed to the balcony, where Evelyn was waiting. Her face was thoughtful, and the slight sway on her heels betrayed her tension. They approached the railing, the very spot where Eleanor had fallen. Cross let the glass drop, and the sound of shattering echoed against the walls of the neighboring buildings. "Now let's go downstairs," he said, and dashed toward the yard. By the time Evelyn came down, William was kneeling, carefully studying the pattern of the shattered glass. "Look at how the glass broke. Completely different from that day," Cross said thoughtfully, glancing up at Evelyn. Shards of broken glass glimmered under the street lamp at the entrance, their sharp edges a stark reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded. "You're right. But who would want to kill Eleanor? And why?" Her voice trembled. She took a step back, as if trying to distance herself from the spot where the body had once lain. "Let's get out of here. This place is giving me the creeps," she whispered. As William and Evelyn pulled out of Eleanor Chesser's driveway, the cloud-covered moonlight barely illuminated the blue Plymouth parked further down the street. The man inside started the engine and followed. That morning, Captain Cross sat in his office, preparing his report for the chief. He was struggling in vain to figure out who might have a motive for the crime. There was no longer any doubt in his mind. It was murder. Francis Doyle entered the office. "Sir, I've got news. Good and very good," the lieutenant grinned. "Get to the point." William tensed up. Frederick Larson was indeed at the card club and left at 11 p.m., and the wine traces on the gloves found near Larson's house matched those found in Eleanor Chesser's home. And the very good news? The chief won't be in today. He got called to Commissioner Norton. "Dismissed?" Cross exhaled in relief. Sergeant Winslow peeked through the door. "Sir, we've got a body." Cross instinctively grabbed his notepad and flashlight from the desk and stepped out of the office. Half an hour later, he was at the crime scene. The old house on the outskirts of town loomed among the gray ruins, looking like something straight out of a black and white newsreel. Everything here breathed abandonment. Shattered windows, peeling paint, grass pushing through cracks in the asphalt. The body was found by children playing in the ruins of an old house. The victim was Clifford Brooks, whom the city's police had been searching for over a month. He had been shot in the back of the head with a pistol. After a careful examination, Cross determined that Brooks had been killed elsewhere and his body had been dumped here. William relentlessly searched for any sign of the vehicle that had transported him. He had no doubt. It was a blue Plymouth. Finally, luck was on his side. At the corner of the crumbling house, Cross found tire tracks and drag marks leading to the body. He called for the forensic expert, then sat down on a bench, lost in thought. In the victim's pocket, they had found an expensive gold-framed mechanical pocket watch on a chain. A suspicion immediately formed in Cross's mind about where it might have come from. Without wasting a second, he set off to verify his theory. He was on his way to see the late Miss Chesser's housekeeper, who lived on the other side of town. A rusty Ford pickup sagged lifelessly beside Mrs. Dorothy Bennett's house, the scent of motor oil mixed with the aromas of dry grass and sun-baked earth. Mrs. Dorothy Bennett recognized the expensive watch immediately. She explained that she had previously seen it in a chest containing valuable documents, but she couldn't recall the last time she had actually laid eyes on it. On his way back to the station, Cross noticed in his rearview mirror that a red Packard was following him at a distance. Not this time, Cross thought, and suddenly made a sharp U-turn in the opposite direction. The red Packard immediately veered into an alley, but not before Cross caught a glimpse of the driver, a red-haired woman wearing sunglasses. The driver of the red Packard knew exactly how to take advantage of her powerful car and soon sped onto the road leading out of town. But Cross's Buick was just as formidable. He kept up, steadily closing the distance. Up ahead, a railroad crossing loomed. Suddenly, Cross spotted a locomotive barreling toward the crossing at full speed. He instantly realized he wouldn't make it across in time. Gritting his teeth, he eased off the gas. The red Packard, however, roared forward, narrowly darting past the locomotive with just meters to spare. Cross came to a stop, frustration creeping in. For the first time, a woman had managed to escape him in a car chase. "They'll get you next time," he thought, then turned the car around and headed back to the station. The dusty Sunflower Creek Highway shimmered under the merciless August sun, its cracked asphalt radiating heat, making the air tremble in a sweltering haze.